Tennessee This Week from WATE 6 on your side starts now.
Hello and welcome to Tennessee This Week. I'm Don Hudson. Voters elected a lot of familiar faces in the Knox County general election, but with term limits and personnel changes, open seats needed to be filled as well. We were out at the polls on Election Day, and as expected, turnout was not huge, especially compared to a year where there's a presidential race on the ballot. But with COVID-19 response in Knox County schools, virtual learning, mask mandates, and the legal fight there, we had our eye on the school board races. Adding to the interest, the change in state law and the decision by local political parties, which made contests for school board partisan. In previous years, you didn't see the R or a D or whatever it is next to the candidate's name, but you did this year. Election night in Knox County's 4th District, it was a Democrat coming out ahead of the Republican, Catherine Bike, beating Will Edwards. It was one of those open seat contests, and it was close with about 130 votes separating the two. Late last week, WAT 6 on your side reporter Wes Cooper had a chance to sit down with Bike and find out what she's going to bring to Knox County's Board of Education.
When you were out on the campaign trail, how did you convince voters to vote for you?
Well, I didn't necessarily go on trying to convince them. I love talking to people and making those connections, and I wanted to know what they cared about. And I think that really listening to people, asking the questions, and diving into what they care about and what's important to them can really have an impact. But I think also for people who, say, well, I don't have school-age children, or my kids go to private school, what does it matter to me? That's when I would bring in talking points about, realistically, we're educating our future, and this is what we need to look at, and that was also pretty meaningful.
What were some of those things that people said were of concern to them or an issue to them that they would like to see discussed or solved maybe in the school system?
Well, for people that have been watching what has been going on, over the last couple of years, they really felt that there was a lot of arguing and people were wasting money and not really kind of getting down to making progress for kids and focusing on the education. That was probably top 3.
School board elections, now partisan, something I asked you last week. You ran as a Democrat. How do you think party politics affected this last election?
I think it affected it in a very big way via funding and just how people sided with stuff. I heard a lot of people say, oh, well, I really like that person or I really like you, but I always vote this way, so that's what I'm going to do, and kind of vice versa. I really wish that that party politics hadn't come into this, or politics in general, because we were already seeing that happening over the last couple of years and through COVID and masks and stuff like that. And that can only be more divisive, and it's really unfortunate because it's not putting the kids first.
Do you feel that public charter schools have a place in Knox County with Knox County funding?
With public funds, no. I don't think they have a place here. My biggest issue with them is that once the charter is agreed upon, they no longer have local oversight. And I hear from a lot of people that they would like to have oversight and control locally and have local government involved and local people involved. And I know that they'll have boards and stuff, but realistically, they would answer to the state. So.
Okay. Next question. Schools and teachers. I see it on the news every day almost, are under scrutiny just about what they teach, from race relations to sexual orientations and things like that. How do you sort out those issues in Knox County schools? Should things like that and social issues be taught in school or maybe left up to parents or guardians?
Well, I mean, there's some things, because you're educating children and you're having those conversations, that you can't get around. And kids are curious. That's what we're doing. That's what educators are doing. We're giving them information. I know that, some people say indoctrination and stuff like that, but realistically, teachers are there to help our kids open their minds and seek out knowledge. And kids are going to go towards knowledge. And I have a lot of friends that are teachers, and they work so hard. They're so qualified. They put their whole heart and soul into that job, and I think that they should be respected as the professionals that they are.
What do you want to see happen if we face another massive surge or anything like that?
Well, I think we're in a pretty big surge right now, but realistically, I know that I'm only one part of a board, and you know, we have to work together on the board to make decisions that are for the best for all children, not just a select few children. And I think it's really important to take that into account. I think looking to professionals, medical professionals and organizations is really important. I know currently right now Knox County isn't doing anything, so to speak, or you know, that's what's being posted. But I know that teachers are still cleaning their classrooms, and you know, when I walked my kids into their classrooms on Monday, they were generally spread out, and that made me feel really comfortable about my kids being there. And I know the teachers, they're having the kids wash their hands and do all of those things, and that makes me feel more comfortable as well as a parent.
Do you think something should be done right now in schools against coronavirus? I mean, or would you consider proposing something maybe your first day?
No, I am not a person that's going to go in there like a bull in a china shop. I want to go and I want to meet the other board members and really have a discussion about what we can do that is going to work for all kids. You know, I heard from some parents that the masks for if you have auditory processing disorders or speech issues, that those are an issue, you know, in learning there, but also for kids who have immune issues, you know, not having masks, there's an issue there. And I think realistically, if you look at like, what was it, the 5 core actions, masks was only one of those. There are a lot of other things that can be done to prevent the spread of disease.
Tennessee moving to a new funding mechanism for schools, replacing BEP. How can Knox County make this new system work?
I really want to dig in there more and figure it out. I think there's a lot of unknown about it. I know a lot of people are worried that, you know, they see, oh, there's this extra funding, but, you know, all the charter school stuff that's been going on, that's been in the news lately, that I know a lot of people are worried that that's where the money is planned to go, and I hope not. I think that having the money follow the students isn't necessarily the best answer because sometimes having, you know, what is good for one child that you've identified is sometimes good for the whole classroom. Realistically, all children can benefit from certain things and also benefit from integrated classrooms and having the kids be together and learn those things either in small groups or the whole classroom. But that is definitely something that I'm really interested in digging into and seeing how the funding is actually going to benefit children.
We're talking inflation, the surge at Mar-a-Lago, and much more with our panel of pundits coming up next. You're watching Tennessee This Week on WATE 6 on your side. Hey, welcome back to Tennessee This Week on WATE. I'm joined now by Courtney Piper, our political contributor, George Corda, our political analyst, and Craig Griffith, our healthcare analyst. And you heard earlier we were talking to Catherine Pike about funding, about parental involvement, about COVID-19 with the school system. There's some new leaders in the Knox County School District as well. So what does the leadership really need to do and focus on to help teachers, make sure that parents feel like they're going to be listened to and there's some transparency? What do they need to do this year and moving forward? And I'm going to start with Courtney if you want to tackle that, Courtney.
Sure. And I am new to the Knox County public school system. My kids just started kindergarten this year, so I think I'll be able to bring some unique perspectives here. But you know, the best thing that the school system can do is put the needs of kids first, not the needs of the administrators, not some sort of newfangled approach or a new and different test, adding that into the mix. They need to put the needs of kids first, and they can do that by listening to teachers in the classroom and to parents.
Do you expect that to happen because of all the news and all that focus? And either George or Craig can jump in right now. Do you expect them to do that, or will it just fall back to how it always has been?
You know, to be determined, right? We've got a new superintendent. He has shaken things up in terms of the leadership and the organization. So all of that is to be determined in this school year.
Craig, George, you want to weigh in?
Well, I think that as dozens of other newly elected school board candidates that we've had on the show, it was a bit of a deer in the headlights situation. No matter how active you are, it's not the same view from on the elected position. and there's a steep learning curve that she's going to have to go through with both the new position she has and the new superintendent. So there's a lot of expectations out there by the parents, the teachers, and the staff on improving the education in Knox County. And as I've said before, the best thing you can do to improve that is to make sure that the relationship between the student and the teacher is quality, and they're teaching them what they need to know. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out with the new people on the school board.
George?
Well, I would someday like to hear a school official, school board member, school board candidate, somebody say something along the lines of, rather than getting caught in the weeds of the funding mechanisms and COVID-19 and all of this, I'd love to hear them say, we have a problem. We have a systemic, endemic problem. Only about a third of our kids can read at fourth grade level in the fourth grade. That means about 65, 66% cannot. And by the eighth grade, the numbers aren't a heck of a lot better. And this is pre-COVID. We've talked about this before. This is pre-COVID. Math is very similar. Science is similar. And this is the case not just in Knox County, but in schools all over the country. So by the fourth grade, if you can't read, you're going to be sailing against the wind all through your academic life in elementary and then middle and high school. And I don't believe I have ever heard a single candidate address those issues directly. I think some of these candidates and some of these office holders ought to look at parents and say, according to the statistics, only a third of the kids in your classroom could read at grade level, and we've got to fix that. And then talk about fixing it. But they get off on all these other issues,
right?
And that gets lost.
Yeah.
Well, the new superintendent has made that a priority for him, improving the reading scores in the lower grade levels. So hopefully we'll see some action to where that problem is addressed and those test scores come up.
I'm going to wrap this up. Courtney, do you feel okay now that you're new to that system and hearing these type of things? Because we really do have that whole Johnny can't read thing, and that is a tough issue to address and to fix.
Absolutely. It's incredibly tough. You know, I had the benefit of my kids going to an absolutely wonderful daycare and pre-K system, and not all parents have access to that. They can't afford it. They can't logistically make it work. And that is also a big hurdle to reading too. Our kindergarten teachers get kids at all different levels, kids that like mine that have gone through a really great pre-K program, and some that haven't, some that this is their first entree into a classroom style environment. So making sure that teachers are equipped with what they need at the first start at kindergarten, and then also making sure before our kids even get to kindergarten, there is equal and fair access to some kind of pre-K to get our kids ready. That is the best chance we can give kids in terms of reading.
All right, a lot of good comments, and we could stay on that, but we've got to do more than one topic here. So let's move on. In fact, November Amendment 1 is going to be up for a vote, a yes or no. I'm curious here. It's right to work. In case people don't know, that's what really is on the ballot. Will Tennessee stay and constitutionally become a right to work state? George, what do you think about that?
I think it'll pass very easily. The idea that if somebody wants to work somewhere, that they're told the only way you can work here is you have to be a union member, whether you like it or not. That won't sit well with the majority of Tennesseans, and I expect it to become part of the Constitution. And I've had a lot of dealings with unions, but I remember being in Chicago trying to set up a trade show display one time. And I was told, where do you want your guy to help you? I said, I don't need any help. We got plenty of people to work on it. He said, you don't understand. You're paying for it whether you use them or not. This is a union town. And I just don't see Tennesseans flocking to say, no, we want those kinds of restrictions in our workplaces. We want that kind of, in effect, kind of a discrimination where you have to be in a union or you can't work here. That just Won't sit well.
And obviously, there's some people that would argue, like for healthcare, for example, that that's why you want to have the union, because they're going to go to bat for you, and so that you work in a better environment and you have better healthcare. What about those people? And
well, then run an election and have a union approved by the members. But even at that, if somebody is in that organization and they don't want to be part of the union, they shouldn't be forced to against their will.
Right. Where are the rest
Well,
of
wait a
you
second.
ones?
Let's be perfectly clear about what's on the ballot. Tennessee is already a right to work state. I have not heard a good argument yet for why it needs to be enshrined in our Constitution. I have not. So we're already a right to work state. That is not going to change. We can debate whether that is a good thing or a bad thing. Does it help and benefit the working class, or does it not? But the fact of the matter is we are already a right to work state. So why do we need to enshrine it in a constitution? I bet there are a lot of consultants being paid a whole heck of a lot of money to run this amendment, but give me a good reason why it needs to be in our Constitution.
Well, actually, I think that's a good question. I remember when there was all the debate about an income tax, and there was an attempt to put a constitutional amendment in, a new constitutional amendment. And I talked to a state senator at the time who's a Republican, said, I'm not for this. I'm not for putting this amendment prohibiting an income tax in the Constitution, because that means all of the years that we've said there's already a prohibition in the Constitution against an income tax, we were wrong. And we weren't wrong. And so I've wondered myself when I was reading the amendment, I wonder why this is being pushed. There's got to be a backstory. We just need to find it out.
Well, I find it very interesting that the state's largest economic development project, the Oval City, the Ford plant outside of Memphis, is already going to be a union shop. And I've been wondering if this is being prompted by the fact that that will be a union operation, that people are concerned that unions will get established in suppliers and vendors to that particular development. And they're trying to make sure that that doesn't happen. So that's a big chunk of money that they're putting to a union shop when they don't even want to have Starbucks unionize.
Well, we have a lot of other topics we want to jump into, but we need to take a break real quick. You're watching Tennessee This Week on WATE, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Tennessee This Week. We are still here with our panel of political pundits, and we are talking about all kinds of issues. There was no shortage of issues at the state level and at the national level. So let's just jump into one that everyone's talking about. Everyone seems to have an opinion or waiting to have an opinion on this search of former President Donald Trump's house down in Florida, how it was handled, the response that we've heard, the fact that we haven't heard what it was all about. What do you think? Did they go wrong with the DOJ, with the FBI out of control, or is this the right way to handle it? Your take on that?
Here's the thing. This raid was, Trump only has himself to blame. At the center of the raid, what is at the crux of this raid, is unauthorized removal of classified documents. And in 2018, when everybody was up in arms about Hillary Clinton's email, and this is according to Politico, Trump signed a law that stiffened the penalty for unauthorized removal and retention of classified documents from 1 year to 5 years, turning it into a felony offense. So if there are papers, I don't care what's on them, but if they are classified and he took them out from the White House, or they're not in a secure environment, the raid is the raid, and it's of his own doing.
I think it's an abominably stupid thing for the Justice Department to have done. And I think it is a raid too far. This is you may hate his guts, but he's a former president of the United States. And to Courtney's point, she raised a point about Hillary Clinton. I don't want to get that into Hillary Clinton, but she did a lot of stuff with classified documents you weren't supposed to do. And then after she was subpoenaed, she wiped her computer clean with some sort of bleach. I don't know whether this is a electronic issue or bleach, but she wiped it clean. She deleted 30,000 emails. Did anybody ever raid her house to find out what might be there? No. And the image of FBI guys standing outside Mar-a-Lago with their automatic weapons, I think what they've done is they have created an environment in which because people are comparing this, whether you like it or not, they're comparing it to Clinton, they're comparing it to Hunter Biden, they're comparing it to a lot of things, and they never have seen this. And as a result, I think it's going to wind up not hurting Trump, maybe making him stronger. And I had, in my conspiracy theory mind, I thought, what if they did this intentionally to make him stronger so he would run because they think they can beat him? I don't know. I just think the whole thing was absurd.
How about the Department of Justice is simply enforcing the law, and a law that Trump put on the books? I mean, it can be as simple as that.
Yeah, Courtney, they raided a former president's house fully armed with vests for 9 hours because they were just enforcing the law. If a Republican
Mar-a-Lago is a big place, George.
If a Republican president were doing this to Hillary Clinton, I doubt your thoughts would be the same.
George, he changed the law that made this a felony.
To Donald Trump. I think that before this, there was some blood in the water. There are different Republican candidates, potential Republican candidates for the nomination that smelled blood in the water, that they thought Trump was vulnerable. But now with this, it's another grievance that he has that he can talk about. And I've gotten no less than 5 fundraising emails from him asking for a raid on my wallet to help him defend his raid. So I think he's using it to raise funds. It's gotten his name out there. And conversely, it's the worst thing that could have happened for the White House. The White House came back from, in their mind, the biggest week that they've had in office. And the only thing that people are talking about now is the FBI standing out in front of Mar-a-Lago with their weapons. And Merrick Garland, I don't know if he and Joe Biden are friends, but I don't think they are now.
Yeah.
But Craig, what's the alternative? You don't have the Department of Justice enforce the
send
law.
a subpoena, you come and knock on the door.
Okay, George, to your
They've
point,
already done.
If we learn what we learned from Hillary Clinton, is if you give somebody a heads up in the form of a subpoena, they could wipe the records clean.
So
correct?
Clinton did something that
Trump,
she never got.
They've had a year and a half. They've had a year and a half to go get these documents.
Trump has taken the attention.
Why did they pick this time, this place? Why didn't they wait till after the midterm elections? Because the Justice Department wants to stay out of elections. Right. So it's a very questionable activity to me.
But you're inserting yourself into the election process. If your decision-making process is, well, should we wait until after the midterm elections? You have the information. You should act on it when you have it.
All right, real quick, guys.
Fast.
Trump's got all the attention now, but this Inflation Reduction Act kind of went behind because of all that. I'm curious where you stand on this, all this money. Even Bernie Sanders came out and said, hey, I'm not so sure about this.
There's no inflation reduction in this act. The Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania ran an analysis on it, and it doesn't do a thing to inflation, not one thing. And it's interesting how in a nation with a 30 trillion plus debt that's run $7 trillion in deficits in the last 3 years, I think, is now celebrating, hey, it's a great victory. We're going to spend $750 billion more dollars we don't have.
We only have about a minute to go, but Courtney, you weigh in on this, please.
It's important to point out that inflation went down about 8.5%.
That's because the economy is slowing down. The economy is slowing down. It's not because
inflation is down. Inflation is down, period, full stop, as they're passing an Inflation Reduction Act. And it also started going down as reports started coming out about corporations making record profits, which I think came as a result of a lot of news reports talking about, I don't know if it's inflation or if it's greedflation.
Well, I think that there are some things in the bill that are beneficial. Giving the CMS, Medicare people the ability to negotiate some drug prices is a step in the right direction. But the big pharma was able to jump into the process and only get 10 drugs on the list that they're going to negotiate over. So I think there are individual components of it that are very beneficial to the citizens.
Well, hey, we won't jump into anything else because we're down to our last few seconds, but I want to thank Courtney and George and Craig for joining us, for weighing in on all kinds of topics
And
today.
thanks for becoming our new host.
Well,
Glad to have.
Yes.
thank you very much for welcoming me and for being so great today. So thank you very much for watching Tennessee This Week on WATE. That's going to wrap it up.
The views of guests on Tennessee This Week are their own and do not represent the views of WATE 6 on your side or Nexstar Broadcasting.